Two of the NFL struggling teams, the New Orleans Saints and the Las Vegas Raiders, face off Sunday in NFL Week 17 action. But is there anything really at stake? Do the fans even really care? I'm Tim. Let's talk Saints. So I'm breaking down the game on Sunday. You're almost breaking down the seasons of the two teams in question because eh, they're so similar. It's scary. I think both teams had higher expectations than being where they currently are. Saints crashed and burned very early. The Raiders weren't very good. And I think their expectations were probably lower based on the fact that they were rolling in with Gardner Minshew and Adrian O'Connell as quarterback options. We hung a lot on the reclamation of Derek Carr and the new offense for various reasons that you're aware of: injuries, overall play, coaching, all kind of factors have hit both teams, and we are where we are now. The disappointing, I think, thing in both teams is, and kind of again similar, Antonio Pierce was an interim coach last year for the Raiders. Finished out his last 9 games at 5-4, got the head coaching job. There were high expectations about him bringing in the culture. And as they were straightening their roster out and trying to get their quarterback, that they would at least be competitive. After we fired Dennis Allen and Darren Rizzi came in, ditto. Basically the same thing. And in Rizzi's case, specifically the last 6 games, pulls an upset against the Falcons that basically sorted the Falcons' downward trend that they just got out of and let everybody, including the Saints, back in the division during those next couple of weeks while they were still losing. A not very good Brown team. You kind of hung around for 3 quarters, and then fourth quarter you put them away. You took a loss against the Rams, against another team fighting to make the playoffs, trying to win their division. You hung around. You had a chance to win the game at the very end. You didn't pull it out. You rolled into New York, and it was just a total disappointment for 4 quarters. You almost lost to the Giants. You probably should have lost to the Giants in all actuality. Brzee makes a huge play to block a field goal and preserve the win. Then you ran into the Commanders and the Packers. And the Commanders are a playoff team, but with some flaws. They're a team you look at it and go, this may not be their year to make a Super Bowl run, but they're getting close. You came down to failed 2-point conversion away from walking out of there with a victory. So you felt pretty good. Then you played the Packers. Packers are a legit playoff, ready to make a Super Bowl run team based on offense, defense. They're not starting a rookie quarterback. Love's got a little test by fire under him, and he's not quite. He's what Jane Daniels is probably going to be next year and what Washington's looking for. So you had a big step up, and you got embarrassed. And the reoccurring theme through all 6 of these games so far with Rizzi, you really haven't had a complete game. You really hadn't had 4 quarters of the football you needed to win the majority of these games. You got close to the Falcons. You were able to pull that one out. You didn't have it for the Browns. You didn't have it for the Giants, and those were 3 quarters and 4 quarters of 2 of the teams behind you in the league standings that were taking the games down to the wire. But you can roll in this week. We already know that you're likely not going to have Derek Carr, and nor should they risk him rolling him out there for various reasons. Mostly because of that $30 million guaranteed for injury portion of his contract. We don't need him getting injured worse and having that thing kick in. Alvin wants to play so badly. I think he wants to get his 50 yards for his 1,000-yard rushing. And I think both these guys want to get on the field and win. Let's be honest. I don't think you're going to have either one. Doesn't sound like it. And I think for all intents and purposes, Rizzi's ruled them out. You're not going to have Lucas Patrick, and you're not going to have Eric McCoy. They're both, sounds like they're done for the year and going to miss the next 2 games. So interestingly enough, you're not really going to have much of an offense again this game. I don't think. And you're wondering what the defense really has after just being exposed basically week after week, in one shape, form, or another. You look at the Raiders, um, and their offense is, well, it's Desmond Ritter or Adrian O'Connell starting against us, and I'm kind of hoping it's O'Connell because Ritter's ability to run scares the crap out of me. But they're the really only truly elite offensive player that's going to be on the field, or at least at the skill positions this weekend, is going to be their tight end Brock Bowers. And I'm quite sure he's going to terrorize our defense. You're going to still roll out some pretty decent offensive players and running backs, Madison and Abdullah. They're healthy and ready to go. They're much like us with injury issues. It seems like you never really know till game time who's actually going to be active and playing. And then once the game starts, who's actually going to touch the ball. Myers and Tucker, wide receiver. Yeah, pretty nice, decent, okay receivers, kind of like our receiving core. I mean, the more you just look back and forth at this game, it's just a mirror of each other going over and over. Luckily for us, especially with our yet again patchwork offensive line, their two best defensive players, Christian on the interior, Christian Wilkins, and on the outside, Max Crosby, they're done for the year and won't play in this game. They would probably single-handedly be able to pitch another shutout based on play along the defensive line, much like the Packers did to us on Monday night. So defensively, they again, Caleb on Chason has filled in and made a little noise once Crosby went down. Got a pretty decent linebacker in Spillane in the middle. Um, Morig, the safety, can make some plays. Hobbs, the corner, can make some plays. But overall, you look at their defense, you look at our defense, you're going, meh, what's it going to come down to? I don't even know what this game's going to come down to. And the whole reason why the video's titled "Do Saints Fans Really Care?" is that quick gloss discussion, kind of recapping the season and talking about this game. So far, a lot of people that cover the team are talking about, they're not really having that conversation so much. The conversation they're having is if the Saints fans, or even probably Raiders fans for that matter, I can't speak for them, but I could give a pretty educated guess, are probably all looking at this through the lens of we care, but not about the matchups, not about necessarily what's going to happen on the field. It's about other stuff. And it's basically all that other stuff is about two teams knowing this season's over and we're just getting ready for next year, the offseason of 2025 and the 2025 season. Both teams throughout their history has had too much of that. And fans who went through it, we know what's coming. It sucks. It isn't fair, but that's where we are. The first topic of conversation is really, have we moved on from trying to fix the culture? It's better. Like I said, the last 6 weeks, a lot of that stuff is a whole lot better than it was basically from week 3 until Rizzy took over as interim. But is it enough really to hang your hat on as something that's positive? Probably. But even experience what we have the last few weeks, like we just recapped, and especially what happened Monday night, even that's kind of seems to be dying down somewhat. Is a win going to boost morale or provide momentum? Likely not, because I think the reality is we all know that a large portion of this team won't be here in 2025, and the rest of them, or a good chunk of those who survive 2025, won't be around at the beginning of 2026. That we know the rebuild's coming. It's the biggest takeaway from the blowout in Green Bay. What's the effects on the players and the fans on that? I don't know. We're, like I said, if older fans pre 2006, we experience what we're going through at the end of the season a whole lot. even including the disastrous missing the playoffs the last 3 years, now fourth year in a row, and the times we missed during the golden era of the Saints, almost every year we were coming down at this point in the season. It was disappointing. Deep down, we knew, those years we didn't make the playoffs, we knew we were going to miss, but there was still hope. As small as it is in some of those years, it was still even the Bounty Gate year, we got fairly deep in that season going, oh my God, we still have a chance to make the playoffs with a video game out of this world offense. It made us think it was real. But now what we're looking at now is there's nothing on this team. So I don't know if you can get momentum or morale from the fact that deep down we knew weeks ago we ain't making it. We tried. We we were trying to find every little positive thing we could to build morale and momentum for the fan base. I just don't think it's there anymore, unfortunately. And I think what we're really boiling down to is you look at social media, I think everybody's kind of saying the same thing. I think it really boils down to the two most popular sentiments that I'm seeing expressed by Saints fans is one, don't screw up the draft pick with a win. Unfortunately, that's where we are at this point with 2 games left to go in the season. And another one is don't make the job less attractive to a coach by folding the tent in the last 2 weeks. Like just showing how I don't know if anybody needs any more examples, but just how bad the overall situation is where it's becoming an undesirable job. I don't know if that can happen, but I guess maybe somebody sitting on the fence prior to the Green Bay game might be going, I don't know. Yeah. Somebody even threw out there, I read on Twitter, going, we have to let the Raiders win just so they may actually keep Antonio Pierce. And that's one less job opening that we have to fight to try to get a good coach in here to fix our stuff. So I think this is why, the title is Do Saints fans really care? I think they do. Um, I think deep down, if they win the game, they were like, there will be some that would be absolutely pissed, but I think a lot of them it would be just a ho hum, almost empty victory, so to speak. But I'm going to be sitting in the dome Sunday, and I'm going to be seeing a lot of Raiders fans, I imagine, and be nice not to hear them shit talk when we leave the building. There's that part of it. But then there's the reality of what we're really talking about here. And what we're really talking about here is getting ready for the next season 2, hopefully not 3, but that's a possibility of trying to fix the mess and get back to what we used to be, what we want to be, and what we're hoping to be. So I think that's what Saints fans care about. And I'm kind of on board with that. I kind of get it. It's just unfortunately, this is the position we find ourselves in. This is the position the team put us in. So I'm not necessarily feeling bad about feeling this way. So this is what we're really talking about. And I think this is the topic of conversation as far as the actual wins and losses of not only the Raiders game, but when we play the Bucks a week later, is we don't want to screw up our draft pick. We try to get ourselves in the best possible position we can. And unfortunately, there's a lot of degree of truth to that statement. You know, it I mean, for lack of a better expression, it is what it is. So went in and looked at where we're sitting, which is obviously 10th. Well, you know, it's what everybody's talking about. At least we're still in the top 10. That seems to be the most common comment after the Green Bay game. So I just went ahead and made a little graphic here. This is not the locked in order of picks. All it is showing the records of the teams behind us and the teams in front of us that, except for the Cardinals, the rest of them are actually at 7-8, still in playoff contention. So that they actually squeak in, then somebody else is going to be dropping down. But takeaway from that is pretty much we can't go higher than 16, and doubting seriously if we're going to win the last two to win 7 to even get involved with that group. So I'm pretty safe to say we're 11 or worse or better, depending on how you look at it. The actual order, the first tiebreaker is strength of schedule, which is it. I mean, every team still has 2 games left to play, so that factors into it because it's basically the winning percentage of all your opponents. And then you get down to head to head and all the other tiebreakers all the way down to coin flip. So that 2 through 6 spot and then the 3 spots right below us, we could wind up in some type of tie with any a couple of those teams. Strength of schedule would say, for instance, the Raiders win their last 2, we lose our last 2. Both teams would finish at 5-12. Even though we have the head to head on them, the strength of schedule would still be the first tiebreaker. So just to point that out, I don't think that we could get down into the top 5 by any stretch. I just don't think that's going to happen. So I think 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. That's kind of the range we're talking about. So overall, I don't know if we can truly screw our draft pick up that much by beating the Raiders, but it's entirely possible. And it could put us in a situation where strength of schedule changes a little bit. We start losing tiebreakers. So even if we wind up tied with some of these teams, we end up with the higher draft pick instead of the lower one. I don't know how relevant and important all that is for this reason. Before I change the graphics, so I have to put a disclaimer up. And with the, and I'm also going to pull me off of here. So really, what I did is, and that's what this disclaimer is talking about. I went to Pro Football Focus, their big board, pulled up their first 16 ranked names. Now, right now, they are ranking just on their film grades from their college film. That's it. And as the disclaimer points out, the names in the order will change once you start getting to like um, the Senior Bowl and all the other All-Star Bowl type games where a lot of these guys get exposure. Um, Obviously, the NFL Combine, when they start having their pro days, everything in between, that's when the names start changing of who's going to be in the top 16. The order definitely changes. And right now, you can notice right away there's no quarterbacks in their top 16. And I can guarantee you that's going to change. Um, Likely Shador Sanders and Cam Ward are going to pop up in there. And I can almost guarantee you, even if nobody's going to rank them in the top 16, there's going to be teams up there. We could be one of them so desperate for quarterback help, they'll take the long shot on them anyway. So biggest thing that I wanted to point out though is look at the names here. As far as we're concerned, if we can fall no lower than 16, and like I said, I don't even think we're going to get close to that. There's almost no name on this list that you can't say. And if you want to throw Shador Sanders and Cam Ward in the conversation, I wouldn't argue against it. But there's almost none of those names where you look at it right now and can say most of them would be better than the guys we're going to be planning on starting at their given position in 2025. And almost once we start cleaning more house cleaning out more of the house after next season, good chance that some of these guys, if they're not quite the best guy at their position in 2025, they may be the starter in 2026 because the guy they're replacing, we had to let go to finish fixing cap issues. So win, lose, or draw, I think we're in a fairly good position to at least hopefully, as long as nobody screws it up in the front office, come out here with a legitimate top end player. Now, this draft is going to start thinning out rather quickly, and especially in some key spots, quarterback likely being one of them. And that's going to play a factor into this too. All in all, I think this is what the Saints fans right now are most worried about. And as I said earlier, I don't think you can really argue that. It's like I said, older Saints fan, it's probably the third time I'm going to make this reference in the video. We've been through it. Just unfortunately in the past, most of those times we completely screwed crap up and it didn't help us. We can't go through that again this year. With the conversation is going to be likely the post game Sunday night. I feel like the game may be part of the conversation, but I think the conversation now for Saints fans, what do we need to do in the offseason? How's it going to look like? Who's going to be the coach? Are they going to make changes in the front office? Are they going to make wholesale changes in the front office? Hell, will Ms. Gale just go, you know what? Screw it. I'll sell to the team to the guy in Houston. Who the hell knows? But I doubt the last one will happen. But you never know. That's the conversations we're gonna start having. And there's a lot to talk about there. There really is. And there's as bleak as it looks, it's not entirely impossible to fix as long as the right decisions are made, as long as the problems are realized. And I think that conversation is more or less started this whole week. And I think that's the conversation that's going to continue. I'm going to go to the game Sunday and I'm going to enjoy it as best I can. I'm going to pull for them to win, at least while I'm sitting in the stands. But as a fan, I don't even know how real that passion will be because in the back of my head, I know, I guess it's kind of a win-win. We win the game, I'll feel good for a little bit, and it's probably not hurting us too bad. But if we lose the game, it definitely improves our position towards what we need to get done this offseason. This is the time that I expect comments to blow up. And a lot of people have based on what I'm kind of seeing in Twitter and other places, a lot of people have a lot of different comments on who, how, what should happen. But I'm not seeing a whole lot where there's a large voice of people calling for to hell with all that draft stuff and all. We want to win the last two games, hell bent from the fans. I do believe the team. I don't think that's lip service. I do believe that they want to go out on their swords or going out winning the last two, one or the other. So, and I appreciate that. But as fans, that's kind of what this is devoted to because it just puts us in a, unfortunately, it puts us in a terrible position. You just want to go crazy nuts and root for them to win at all costs. Like I said, I'm going to be rooting for them to win Sunday, but I don't think it's going to be crazy and at all costs type thing. So tell me what you think down in the comments. Exactly how you feel about the next two, what's going to happen, and basically getting ready for the off season, I guess, like everybody else is. If you're first time here, please go ahead, hit the like, share, subscribe, give me a thumbs up, power up all that algorithm stuff for me. Let's keep the channel moving in a positive direction, keep it growing. And best way to support the channel is down there at the Black and Gold merchandise shop on Shopify. There's the link. I will be having a post Christmas thank you discount that'll be showing up, and it's going to go all the way through week 18. So pop in there and check that out. Live stream Sunday night, normal time about 8:30 Central Sunday night. We'll go ahead, recap, break down the Raiders game, see where we are, talk about where we're going. So till I see you then, I'm Tim. Peace out and who dat.